What was the weirdest black market in your school? Our middle school tried to start a reward program. It turned out to be a fail of epic proportion. Wolf bucks. Names after our mascot. They were mini-sized dollars color-coded by value. Green was $1. Red was $5. Blue was $10. And a gold wolf buck. Only accessible to the principal and assistant principal $50. Now the school bought erasers, pencil, notebooks. You could only buy with wolf bucks 1 pencil. 1 wolf buck. First failure. It was easy to copy. So kids started mass copying them. Okay, school got smart and said, only accepting wolf bucks with your name and have your teachers' signature. Second failure. Kept the same color. So kids would earn 1 legitimately, then the forgery started. Third failure. Hyperinflation. During pep rallies, the principal started throwing golden wolf bucks. Eventually the school stopped resupplying the store. Everyone had hundreds, thousands of worthless wolf bucks. Not really a black market, but there was a porn tape. VHS days. That used to do the rounds. There was a booking system and everything. You couldn't have it for more than 2 days. Harry Potter books. I went to a religious school where books that had magic or fantasy was banned. Parents of these kids were just as religious, so kids couldn't get them from their parents. Mom didn't care and she let me buy a few for some friends, and then more kids started requesting them. Charged double for what they were worth, and the kids were more than happy to pay. Most popular requests were Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings and Cirque du Freak series. Edit. Also made money making customized covers for the books so it looked like they were reading something else. Edit. I should probably mention that this was a Muslim school. One of my friends sold Starburst from his locker. 10 cents for 2. If he liked you, you got 2 from the normal bag. If he didn't like you, you got 2 from the bag that only had yellows. This wasn't a weird one, but a genius one for a tween. A girl set up a little business out of a box of stationery. Writing forged letters from parents. She had all different paper, pens and pencils of every kind, and could write in convincingly accurate tone for the content of the notes depending on which kid they were for. She used different styles of handwriting and different styles of punctuation and language too. She'd even fudge the spelling if she thought the kids' parents weren't great at it. She grew up to be incredibly educated. I look back and see that as her first moment of evil genius. It definitely suggested she would go on to brilliance one day, and she did. Our elementary school utilized ice cream tickets. You got one if it was your birthday or if you did something that a teacher decided was exemplary. People would pass them around asking for favors. Down the line, some kid found the paper used to make the tickets and Xeroxed multiple pages of the tickets. He became our kingpin and ruled for a couple years. This one girl forged apology letters if you brought her something one of your parents wrote. I never used her services myself, but we were, and still are, good friends. And I gotta say, she's talented as hell. I literally can't tell which one is mine after she copied something I wrote, including signature. It's baffling. This happened in Los Angeles in the mid-80s. Student bus passes had to be purchased by the 5th day of the month, or you were stuck having to pay daily. The date had passed, so I found a guy in my high school willing to trade another student's pass, which he had stolen. I traded a tangerine and half a pack of cigarettes for a copy of Penthouse. Then I traded that issue with a pizza from the cafeteria for the bus pass. Bottle caps. I still don't get it, but back in primary school, They were collecting bottle caps for some kind of charity. Google it. It's still ongoing around the world. So what happened was everything was going well. The teacher got everyone excited about it and kids were collecting it en masse. Kids would go around raiding for it. From the trash. From their school lunches. From their homes even. A teacher got a call from a concerned parent because her kid hijacked all the bottle caps from their kitchen. So that's stage 1 of the weirdness. It's what happened afterwards. Stage 2. Kids started trading with these plastic bottle caps. We would trade pens, homework and even Pokemon cards for bottle caps. Worthless bottle caps. There wasn't even a prize for whoever could collect the most caps. It just became a currency out of nowhere. Let's talk about stage 3 of the madness. Theft. There was no bank of bot caps at our school. There was the donation box and there were your cubbies. Those who didn't want to lug their stash back home every day left it in their cubbies and some kid decided to steal people's caps and from the donation box. The great theft of Class 3B. But it was probably for the best because overnight the madness subsided. The teacher ended the bottle cap donation. She was sick of the bugs that were gathering and licking up the dried up sugar juices from the caps. Anyway, but mostly horrified at how her little charity drive devolved into a socio-economical experiment. Just like that, the bottle cap market crashed. In early elementary school we had a market for mud. Different groups of kids would claim areas around the school as their mud pit and put their brand of mud in Ziploc bags to be traded with other groups for different bags of mud. We were the clay mud group and I had about 3 kids in the muck scooping it into bags or running to the water fountain to get fresh water to make more mud on dry days. I would be the one to go make the deals with the other groups. We traded a lot with the gravel mud group because clay mud and cement mud are both good for building or some shit. Who knows? It made so much sense at the time. The principal and staff eventually stepped in to end it because all the kids came back to class filthy every day and giant holes littered every field and playground. We did a weird assignment for a month where we ran a society for an hour each day in our classroom. People had little shops they ran from their desks. There were elected positions, laws you could be ticketed for breaking, etc. It was all run on fake money. Of course, I got elected chief of police and handed out tickets for stuff like chewing gum in class. But a combination of laziness and not wanting everyone to hate me caused me to slack off. And I got fired after 2 weeks. So I opened a shop instead and sold stuff, including gum, which in hindsight makes me like a cop who became a drug dealer. The final week of this rolls around and there's an announcement. At the end, all your money will be tallied up. Any debts or taxes you owe subtracted. And any kid who wound up with a positive amount gets a pizza party. Kids who are in the red have to write an assignment on how and why they screwed up. This electrifies the class. Missing out on a pizza party is a big damn deal when you're 10. And well under half the class is currently in the black. Tons of them had taken out big loans in the beginning to set up businesses. And had no way to repay them. Not me though. I'd been receiving a salary as a cop. And after being fired I just used the money I had accumulated to set up shop and had no debts. Few in the class could say that. So I was sitting pretty. Soon I started receiving offers of real money on the playground for some of my fake money. You only needed to be $1 over zero to win. So I could spare plenty. Made $40 in actual cash. I think I charged $5 for 100 fake dollars. And got 8 people to accept. So I was a corrupt cop who became a drug dealer who became a money launderer. And won. So I definitely learned a lot about how society works. Edit. Since everyone keeps asking if this foreshadowed my future career, I must disappointingly admit that I'm just a software dev now. I mean, as far as you and Uncle Sam know, I'm a software dev. Drawings. It started out as a joke. Some kids make beautiful drawings and trade them for other drawings. At one point we decided to give them a value. If a drawing was really pretty, let's say 8/10, we would number it with 8, and you could trade it for 2 FAs. There were kids that would not draw but were chosen to ride these drawings. At one point kids would trade snacks for beautiful drawings. This started in my class. And in a couple of days the whole school was doing this. My drawings were okay, but not great. And sadly I never got snacks to bring to school. So I had nothing to trade. So I decided to recruit other kids that were really good and would be their manager so they had more time to draw. I had siblings in other grades. So I would contact them to trade these in their class so there was more ground to collect snacks from. I also bargained with the kids that would we ratings the drawings, promising them a share of the snacks. My clients would share their snacks with me as payment for my services. I still remember those stupid horse flower drawings. Horse girls went nuts over these and would give anything for them. In high school I was the only kid in my year that knew how to download music to your phone. I would make a list of songs people want and would transfer these trough Bluetooth. I would charge 1 cookie for 1 song. Let me tell you the story of the Great Bead Wars. 7th grade. A kid in my class went on vacation to New Orleans and came back with a crappy little plastic bead necklace for every kid in the class. It was cute, until some kid was fiddling with his necklace and broke it, spilling beads all over the floor, interrupting the lesson. Most of the beads got picked up and thrown out. It wasn't long after the lesson started up again that some kid had taken an errant bead and chucked it across the room while the teacher's back was turned, pelting his friend in the side of the head. The bead bounced off out of reach, but he needed to retaliate. Luckily, he had his own necklace with several dozen beads of his own. He quietly broke the necklace, grabbed a fistful of beads, and hurled them back at his attacker, catching many a civilian in the crossfire. Needless to say, the war escalated, and war is cruel. Every time the teacher's back was turned, volleys of beads flew across the classroom. No one was safe. If you were too focused on the lesson and forgot to raise your binder as a shield while the teacher was writing on the chalkboard, it wouldn't be long before you felt the stink of a bead striking your temple. Alliances were made. Factions developed. The bead economy was formed. At lunch, valuable food items were bartered for bead supply. A full necklace? Intact? That would set you back at least a Twinkie and can of soda. Betrayal and espionage were rampant. Best friends became sword enemies. Technology thrived. Bead catapults were made from rulers. Slingshots were made from elastic bands, pencils, and binder clips. One student managed to engineer a stapler into a spring-charged, loadable bead shotgun. A direct hit to exposed skin from 3 desks away from that bad boy would leave a mark. You didn't cry out though. You clenched your teeth and fought back the tears. There are rules to war. We knew that it was a matter of time before the teacher caught on. And if she found out, then it was all over. Well, that day eventually came. We came in from recess, and written on the chalkboard was the following: I'm not blind or deaf. I know about the bead wars. All beads and bead launching devices have been confiscated from your desks. If I find any more beads being thrown, the whole class will be in detention for the rest of the month. Some resisted, We knew she couldn't have possibly got all the beads. Some still surfaced on the black market. But it wasn't the same. We knew it was over. There is a time to know when to keep fighting to your dying breath. But there's also a time to know when to surrender. I'm a grown man now. I have a wife. And a job. I get out of bed every morning and go about my day. As if the great bead wars never happened. People smile at me and shake my hand. They don't know what I've been through. They couldn't possibly imagine the burden I carry. The invisible scars that will never heal. The fact that most nights, when it's silent, I still hear the tick, 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 tick of a bead bouncing on my 7th grade classroom tile. But I persist. I have to. If not for me, then for those classmates so many years ago. Those whose names I've forgotten. But whose terrified faces are burned into my mind's eye. I don't know where they are now. If they're alive or dead. I don't know if I want to know. All I know is that I will share this unspoken bond with them for the rest of my days. Noodle seasoning packets. I had a friend that used to bring a bunch of Coke cans from home and then sell them for $1 at lunch. Cheaper than the vending machine prices, and so it became like a little business. He eventually saved up enough for a longboard. I think I was 16 when this happened, but basically a bunch of guys begging printing paper that looked like contracts with the top saying, "Soul contract." They'd come up to some of the younger students and get them to sign the document to sell their soul for eternity, and would pay then $2 to $3. Converting to USD. We had a good laugh when some of the students became worried they actually sold their soul. Sharpened Sticks. When we learned about caveman, we decided that it would have been a great idea to create our own prehistoric clan. So we smashed rocks and used them to sharpen tree branches. Some of us were particularly keen on sharpening that started to use walls as grindstones. They were able to sharpen about 6 sticks in half an hour and started exchanging them for berries. During recess edit. Thanks you all guys for the 800+ upvotes. I really expected this to be buried in the comment section. Salt. My school canteen doesn't have any salt with chips or fries to Americans, and people used to sell salt packets. The most expensive offer I could find was 50 pence for a packet or £1 for 3. Diddle paper. It's colored paper with a mouse drawn on it. But everyone collected them, no matter how old. And there were hundreds of different artworks. People had folders with protective covers, and depending on the motive and rarity you wanted to trade, you could get 3 to 4 other motives in exchange. It was wild. I just Googled it and there are still collectors buying and selling them on the internet. A teacher at my high school that I refused to rat on would take money from students and buy them lottery tickets, scratch-offs in exchange for a cut of any prize $50 and up. I think the dude legit made a few $1,000s off of this just during my senior year. And it made the students love him.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.